What if I told you that confidence is not built in one giant leap, but in the quiet accumulation of small wins, day after day? Most people believe they need a dramatic transformation to feel confident. They wait for the big break, the perfect opportunity, the applause that will finally convince them they are enough. But the truth is, real confidence does not arrive in a single moment. It is forged slowly, quietly, through the discipline of daily victories. These micro wins may look insignificant from the outside. Waking up on time, choosing to drink water instead of soda, finishing the book you promised yourself you would read, speaking up in a meeting when your instinct is to stay silent. They are small, but each one whispers to your mind, see, you can be trusted. See, you do what you say you will do. And that whisper, repeated daily, becomes the loudest voice in your spirit. Confidence is not arrogance. It is not the absence of fear. It is trust. Trust in yourself that you will show up, that you will follow through, that you will not betray the person you claim you want to become. And trust is built through proof. Micro wins are that proof. Think about how you feel when you keep even the smallest promise to yourself. You say you will take a 10-minute walk, and you do. You say you will call a friend to check in, and you do. You say you will limit your scrolling, and you keep your word. That feeling you get afterward is not pride in the action itself, but in the evidence it creates. The evidence that you are reliable, that you are capable, that you are not a victim of your circumstances, but a participant in your own growth. The problem is that most people dismiss these moments. They tell themselves it is too small to matter. They say it is just one glass of water, just one conversation, just one page in a journal. But that is the secret. It is never just one. It is the beginning of a pattern. And patterns, not promises, shape who you become. A young woman once told me she struggled with crippling self-doubt. She wanted to change her life but felt stuck. When she tried to make big changes, she quickly burned out and gave up. Then she tried something different. She set one simple goal each morning, write one page in her journal. That was it. Day after day, she showed up. Over time, that single page became a stack of notebooks, and with it, her confidence grew. Not because her life transformed overnight, but because she proved to herself she could be trusted to show up. That is the daily 1% strategy. Small, consistent wins compound into a deep well of confidence. Just like money grows through compound interest, confidence grows through compound trust. Each day you add a deposit. Each day you strengthen your belief. And one day, without even noticing, you look back and realize you have become someone entirely new. So let me ask you, what is one small promise you can make to yourself today? Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Something so simple, it feels almost too easy, because easy is the point. You do not need to climb the whole mountain right now. You only need to take the next step. And then tomorrow, another. Confidence is not a gift someone gives you. It is a habit you build, and the habit is built on micro wins. Start today, start small, and trust that the voice inside you will grow stronger with every quiet victory. Because in the end, the person who consistently shows up for themselves, even in the smallest of ways, becomes unstoppable. What if I told you that your body speaks louder than your words, and often long before you open your mouth? Confidence is not just a mindset, it is a posture, a presence, a way of carrying yourself that tells the world you believe in who you are, even when you are still learning to believe it yourself. Presence is powerful because it shapes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Science has shown that the way you hold your body affects the chemistry of your brain. Standing tall, shoulders back, chest open, signals to your nervous system that you are safe, that you are capable, that you are enough. And the moment your body signals safety, your mind begins to believe it. Most people underestimate this. They think confidence comes first and posture follows, but often it works the other way around. Change your posture and your confidence begins to rise. When you walk into a room standing tall, breathing deeply, making eye contact, you not only appear confident, you begin to feel it. That is the power of presence. Think about the times you shrank back when you lowered your gaze. hunched your shoulders, folded your arms tightly around yourself. In those moments, you were telling your mind you were small, fragile, unsure, and your mind believed you. But when you chose to lift your chin, to take up space, to breathe as though you belonged, your mind shifted. It began to whisper a new truth. Maybe I do belong here. A young man once told me that before every job interview, he would stand in front of a mirror for 2 minutes, feet firmly planted, hands on his hips, breathing slow and steady. He said it felt strange at first, even silly, but over time he realized those 2 minutes changed everything. He walked into the room taller, calmer, more grounded, and people noticed. He did not just answer questions, he owned the space. That simple practice became his secret weapon. Presence is not about arrogance. It is not about pretending to be someone you are not. It is about aligning your body with the truth of who you already are. You are not a shadow. You are not an afterthought. You are a human being with worth, and when you carry yourself that way, others respond to it. But presence is not only about posture, it is about energy. You can walk into a room with perfect posture and still carry anxiety that others will feel. Presence is cultivated in silence, in the moments you spend grounding yourself before the world demands your attention. It is the discipline of breathing deeply before you speak, of listening more than you interrupt, of allowing stillness to shape your words. So let me ask you, how are you showing up today? Are you shrinking into the background, hoping no one notices you? Or are you choosing to take up the space that belongs to you, not with noise, but with presence? Power posture is a practice. It is built through small daily decisions. Stand tall when you feel like slumping. Lift your eyes when you feel like hiding. Take a deep breath when anxiety tempts you to rush. Over time, those choices become your natural state. And when they do, confidence stops being something you chase and starts being something you carry. The truth is, the world is not only listening to your words, it is reading your presence. And if you want to build confidence, you must teach your body to speak the language of belief. Start today. Before your next meeting, conversation, or challenge, pause, plant your feet, open your chest, breathe deeply, remind your body that you belong. Because when your posture says you are strong, your mind will follow, and so will the world around you. Presence is not about being the loudest person in the room. It is about being the one who makes others feel the weight of your quiet confidence. And that is a power no one can take away from you. Confidence is not built overnight. It is not a lightning strike that suddenly changes the way you see yourself. It is built slowly in the shadows of your daily routine, in the tiny habits that seem almost too small to matter. But here is the truth. What seems small today becomes powerful tomorrow. Because confidence is not about one big decision. It is about the quiet consistency of choices that shape who you are becoming. Tiny habits are powerful because they bypass the pressure of perfection. Too often we set goals so big that we quit before we start. We promise ourselves we will change everything at once, only to feel overwhelmed and disappointed. But a tiny habit feels doable. Write one line in your journal, do 5 minutes of stretching, practice gratitude for 1 moment before you sleep. These are not grand achievements, but they are victories. And victory, no matter how small, fuels belief. Think about brushing your teeth. You never question whether you will do it. It has become part of who you are. Imagine if confidence could be built the same way, through habits so small, they eventually become part of your identity. The secret is not in the size of the habit, but in its repetition. Because repetition creates rhythm, and rhythm creates identity. A woman once told me she used to struggle with deep insecurity. She tried affirmations, books, even therapy, but nothing seemed to stick. Then she started a simple habit. Every morning before she checked her phone, she looked in the mirror and said out loud one thing she appreciated about herself. At first, it felt forced. She did not believe the words, but she kept going. Weeks turned into months, and something shifted. She began to notice more of her strengths. She carried herself differently. That tiny habit of speaking truth to herself became a foundation of her confidence. Another man shared that he felt disconnected from his goals. He dreamed big but never took action. Then he started a micro routine. Each evening, he wrote down the single most important task for the next day, just one, and he committed to finishing it before anything else. That habit changed his life. Not because the tasks were huge, but because completing them created momentum, and momentum created confidence. This is the essence of tiny habits. They teach your brain that you can be trusted. They create a feedback loop of evidence that says you follow through, you show up, you do what you said you would do. And over time, that evidence becomes the foundation of your self-belief. But here is the deeper truth. Tiny habits are not about results, they are about identity. The goal is not just to drink more water, it is to become the kind of person who values their body. The goal is not just to journal, it is to become the kind of person who listens to their inner voice. The goal is not just to practice gratitude, it is to become the kind of person who sees blessings even in hard seasons. When you focus on who you are becoming, the confidence follows naturally. So let me ask you, what tiny habit can you start today? Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Something so small it almost feels insignificant. Because significance is not in the size of the act, it is in the consistency of the practice. Maybe it is setting aside 2 minutes each morning to breathe deeply and remind yourself that you are enough. Maybe it is sending a message of encouragement to someone you care about. Maybe it is simply standing tall when you walk into a room. Each of these choices, practiced daily, becomes a thread, and thread by thread, you are weaving a stronger, more confident version of yourself. Confidence is not found in waiting for the right moment. It is built in the moments you create. Start small, stay consistent, trust the process. Because tiny habits, practiced faithfully, will one day make you realize that the confidence you were chasing has been growing inside you all along. The most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Long before you speak to the world, you are speaking to your own mind. And the words you repeat in silence, whether you realize it or not, shape the way you carry yourself into every room and every relationship. Confidence does not begin with applause. It begins with self-talk. The voice inside you can either be your greatest encourager or your harshest critic. The tragedy is that many people spend their lives listening to a critic that sounds like themselves. Every time you fail, the voice says, "See, I told you so." Every time you try something new, the voice whispers, "You are not enough." And slowly, those whispers become a prison. But here is the truth. That inner voice is not fixed. It can be trained. It can be rewired. And the moment you begin to change your inner dialogue, you begin to change the way you live. Positive self-talk is not about lying to yourself. It is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing words that build rather than break. It is about speaking to yourself with the same compassion you would give a friend. Because you cannot spend your days tearing yourself down and expect to walk into the world standing tall. A young woman once told me she had a habit of saying out loud, "I am so stupid," every time she made a mistake. She thought it was harmless until she realized how often her children heard her say it. They began to copy her, calling themselves stupid over small errors. That moment woke her up. She decided to replace the phrase with "I am learning." It felt awkward at first, but slowly it changed everything. She stopped attacking herself and started encouraging herself. And as her children watched, they too learned a new way of speaking to themselves. This is the power of self-talk. It does not just affect you, it sets the tone for everyone around you. From a scientific perspective, self-talk shapes your mindset through neuroplasticity. Every time you repeat a phrase, you strengthen that pathway in your brain. Negative words reinforce fear and doubt. Positive words reinforce courage and hope. What you tell yourself consistently becomes what you believe, and what you believe becomes how you act. Think about the way athletes prepare for competition. They do not only train their bodies, they train their minds. They speak affirmations, they visualize success, they refuse to let fear dictate their inner dialogue, and that preparation often makes the difference between victory and defeat. You may not be running a race, but every day you are competing against doubt, distraction, and discouragement. And the voice you choose inside will determine which side wins. So let me ask you, what phrases are you repeating to yourself every day? Do you tell yourself you cannot change, that you are too old, too late, too weak? Or do you remind yourself that progress is possible, that you are stronger than yesterday, that every step forward is victory? Changing self-talk does not require hours, it requires intention. Start with one phrase every morning, look in the mirror, and speak a truth you want to believe. Not a fantasy, but a truth. I am capable, I am worthy of love, I can handle what today brings. Repeat it until it begins to feel real. Because repetition is what rewires belief. Your inner dialogue sets the thermostat for your confidence. If you let it stay cold with negativity, you will never feel warm in the world outside. But if you raise it with encouragement, even slowly, you create an inner climate where confidence can grow. The most important lesson is this: you cannot wait for others to validate you. External praise is fleeting, but the voice you carry inside you is constant. Train it, nurture it, let it become your greatest ally. Confidence is not built on the absence of fear. It is built on the presence of a voice that tells you you can keep moving anyway, and that voice begins with you. Confidence is not a gift you are born with, it is a result of proof. Proof that you can learn, grow, and adapt. Proof that you can overcome what once intimidated you. And one of the most powerful ways to build that proof is through skill growth. When you choose to invest in yourself, even in small ways, you collect victories that no one can take away. Skill growth does not always mean learning something dramatic. It is not only about earning a new degree or mastering a complex language. Sometimes it is as simple as practicing patience, improving your listening, or learning to cook a new meal. These are what I call soft wins. They may not make headlines, but they quietly shift the way you see yourself. Because each new skill says to your mind, I can grow. Think about the difference between who you were 10 years ago and who you are now. If you are honest, the gap is not filled with giant leaps, but with countless small lessons. You learned how to manage a conversation better. You figured out how to organize your time more effectively. You picked up a new hobby that gave you joy. Each skill, each win, added a layer of confidence you may not have noticed at the time. A young man once told me he felt stuck in life. He believed confidence was something other people had, something he simply lacked. Then he started learning one small skill at a time. First, he committed to reading 10 pages a day. Then he began practicing public speaking in front of a mirror. Later, he learned basic financial management, something he had always avoided. Slowly, his confidence grew. Not because his life became perfect, but because he had daily evidence that he was capable of change. The truth is, skill growth works because it shifts the story you tell yourself. Instead of saying, I cannot, you begin to say, I can learn. Instead of believing I am not enough, you remind yourself, I am becoming. And that shift changes everything. Soft wins also matter because they are sustainable. They do not drain you or demand perfection. They are small victories that build momentum. Finishing a workout, learning to pause before reacting, completing a task you promised yourself you would finish. Each one may seem minor, but together they create an undeniable pattern. From a psychological perspective, these wins train your brain to recognize progress. Progress releases dopamine, the chemical of motivation. And once you feel the satisfaction of progress, you want more. That desire fuels consistency, and consistency builds confidence. But here is the challenge. Too many people dismiss small skills and soft wins as insignificant. They wait for the big breakthrough while ignoring the daily opportunities for growth. They believe if it is not extraordinary, it does not matter. Yet the truth is, ordinary consistency is what creates extraordinary change. So let me ask you, what skill have you been putting off because you told yourself it was too small? What daily habit have you ignored because you believed it would not make a difference? Could it be that the very skill you consider unimportant is the one that would unlock a new level of confidence. Confidence is not about knowing everything. It is about knowing you can learn anything. It is not about never failing. It is about refusing to stay the same. Every soft win is proof that you are moving, that you are becoming stronger, that you are not stuck. Start small. Pick a skill you can begin practicing today. Celebrate each soft win, no matter how ordinary it feels. And trust that with time, these small victories will build a foundation of confidence so strong that nothing external can shake it. Because in the end, the person who keeps growing, who keeps collecting soft wins, is the person who walks into the future, not just with hope, but with proof. Confidence is not built in a vacuum. It is shaped, challenged, and reinforced by the environment you live in every single day. You may practice positive self-talk, build tiny habits, and work on your inner dialogue, but if the world around you is filled with negativity and noise, your progress will always feel fragile. This is why curating your environment is not optional. It is essential. Your environment is not only the physical space you inhabit, it is also the voices you allow into your mind, the content you consume, the people you surround yourself with, and the habits you repeat in that space. Every one of these elements either lifts you up or pulls you down. Confidence grows where encouragement, clarity, and discipline are present. And it withers where doubt, distraction, and comparison dominate. Consider how you feel after scrolling through social media for half an hour. Rarely do you walk away feeling stronger. More often, you feel smaller. You compare your life to someone else's highlight reel and wonder why you are behind. That is the power of environment. It can steal confidence without you even noticing. But when you intentionally choose what you feed your mind, you take back control. Replacing endless scrolling with uplifting books, meaningful podcasts, or even a walk outside shifts the entire climate of your spirit. The same is true for the people you keep close. Some voices add courage, others add doubt. You can usually feel the difference. One conversation leaves you energized, ready to grow. Another leaves you drained, questioning your worth. The choice is not always easy, but it is clear. If you want to build lasting confidence, you cannot continue to invest in relationships that consistently deplete you. Protecting your environment may mean creating distance, setting boundaries, or saying no. It is not about rejecting people. It is about protecting your purpose. A man once told me he struggled for years to break free from self-doubt. He tried affirmations, journaling, and therapy, but he always felt pulled back into old habits. Then he realized he was spending nearly every day with friends who thrived on negativity, who laughed at ambition, and who dismissed any effort to change. Once he began limiting his time with them and surrounding himself with people who encouraged growth, his confidence finally began to stick. Not because he changed overnight, but because the environment stopped pulling him down. Curating your environment also applies to your physical space. A cluttered home creates a cluttered mind. A chaotic workspace makes it harder to focus and easier to doubt your abilities. But when you create order, even in small ways, you send yourself a signal. This is a place where I can think clearly, act with purpose, and grow with peace. From a psychological perspective, this is called priming. Your brain responds automatically to the cues in your environment. If your space is filled with reminders of chaos, your mind will anticipate chaos. If it is filled with reminders of growth, your mind will lean toward growth. That is why small changes like keeping a gratitude journal visible, having a quiet corner for reflection, or starting your morning without screens can make such a significant impact. So let me ask you, what is your environment saying to you right now? Does it whisper possibility or does it shout distraction? Do the voices around you help you believe in yourself, or do they cause you to question your worth? Confidence requires more than inner work. It requires outer alignment. You cannot always control the world, but you can control what you allow into your space. Choose wisely. Create boundaries. Invest in voices and places that remind you of your strength. Because in the end, confidence does not just grow from what is inside you, it grows from the environment that surrounds you. And when you curate that environment with intention, you give yourself the space to rise, the courage to persist, and the clarity to believe that you truly are becoming the person you were meant to be. Confidence is not a gift handed to you. It is a choice you make every single day. It grows in the small victories, in the way you carry yourself, in the habits you choose, in the words you speak to your own soul. It is strengthened through learning, protected by the environment you build, and shaped by the people you keep close. When you practice daily micro wins, when you stand with presence, when you commit to tiny habits, when you train your inner dialogue, when you grow through soft wins, and when you curate your environment with intention, you discover that confidence is no longer something you chase, it becomes something you live. The truth is simple. You do not need to wait for the perfect moment to believe in yourself. Start today. Start small. Choose one action, one word, one shift, because the daily 1% you give to your growth will compound into a life you never thought possible. Your confidence is not in the future. It is being built right now, one choice at a time.